It is Friday, October the 16th. I've moved my studio to a new room, and this is my news radar. As we move closer and closer to the launch of the next-gen systems like the PlayStation 5, it was becoming a little bit weird that we still didn't know what the UI of the PlayStation 5 was actually going to look like. Well, today that kind of mostly changes. Sony has posted a really good, 11-minute long breakdown of many of the elements of the PlayStation 5's UI. I have a link to the full video down in the description, but I want to take a brief moment and kind of go over some of the bigger things that I thought were maybe the most interesting. So they show here basically what happens when you press the PlayStation button. And what's interesting here is that you get this menu that pulls up, which let me see if I can get rid of the YouTube little bar down there at the bottom momentarily here. So you get a list of icons down there at the bottom, which allow you to, look at your friends list, your settings, your controller, so forth and so on. But what's weird here to me is that the game is still taking place behind this. I would assume maybe in certain games that's going to actually pause the game. I would hope because, obviously in a multiplayer game, maybe it would keep playing in the background. I don't know. It's just interesting to me that you get this overlay where you can clearly see the game still happening behind it. He talks about these cards down here to the right where basically what it's showing is different activities in the game. So take it as a level. So if you remember, in this game, there's, this is Sackboy's Big Adventure. So there's a particular level with certain objectives to complete in that level. So he shows that you can actually, see these levels and these objectives in these cards. And when you click on one of them, you get this screen where it shows you, your progress of each one of those missions in that level. Now, this is pretty cool, but the coolest thing about it to me is that if you're stuck on one of these levels, you can actually, in some of these things, find hints or a little walkthrough video to help you, finish this level, finish this mission without having to turn to your phone to Google something or risk seeing a spoiler or what have you. You can watch a video here and just see, what you're supposed to be doing in this level if you're stuck. For someone like me that has a little brother that's, learning more and more about video games and, becoming a big gamer, he might get stuck in some of these places, and he doesn't have a cell phone. He's a kid. So to be able to turn to this to just see what am I supposed to do is awesome. And it also highlights a feature that they mention here later, that some of these videos can actually be shown as a picture-in-picture on the screen. In fact, they demonstrate that a little bit later by showing a friend in a party that is casting their screen, and then they can take that casting of that what that person's playing, and they can actually pin that as picture-in-picture on their screen overlaid on what they're playing. Now this is pretty interesting, and I can imagine at least one way where that would be useful. Let's say you're playing a game and your friends, when I finish up this level, we can jump into a party and we'll play this multiplayer game together where you can watch and see where they're at and see when they're about to be done with that level. You can kind of organize things a bit better that way. That's actually pretty cool. And then at the end, you do get a look of what the actual home screen will look like. This looks like a logical evolution to what we've seen with the cross-media bar and then whatever the PS4's UI was called. I don't remember if it had a name or not, but nonetheless, it looks kind of similar to that. While I don't think there's anything particularly shocking about this unveiling, it looks clean, it looks quick. They showed, loading into a game from a party and so forth and how quick that loaded in, which was very fast with that SSD. Overall, looks really good. Glad to finally know what the PlayStation 5's UI is going to look like. One slightly weirder PlayStation-related story is here on Eurogamer. This Twitter user posted this screenshot from their PlayStation 4, which says basically that you should be aware that voice chats and parties may be recorded and sent to us by other users. By participating in voice chats, you agree to your voice being recorded. And what they're doing here is basically if you find yourself in a party chat with someone who's being abusive or toxic or whatever, it gives you the opportunity to just send that off to Sony and maybe get this person banned. On one hand, I think that's kind of maybe a good thing. On the other hand, I don't like submitting myself to being recorded randomly like that. Maybe the long end of this is just only being parties with people that you know. So on the smartphone side of the news for today, OnePlus had recently released their set of earbuds that looked suspiciously very similar to iPhone's earbuds. And they were cheap and they were pretty good. They were better if you were using a OnePlus phone. They had its own app and so forth. But just in case you were interested in these earbuds but still thought that they were a little bit too expensive. Well, now we do have the OnePlus Buds Z, which is their even cheaper version. $45.99 is the price, and they look pretty good. Now they're changing from the sort of AirPod style where there's no tip that goes in your ear, it just kind of rests there, to one that actually does fit in your ear, which I actually do prefer. You're getting IP55 rating as far as water resistance, so they can handle a little bit of sweat and splashing from your gross nasty ears. 20 hours of charge time on a single charge, 3 hours of playback with just 10 minutes of charging time. It's got Bluetooth 5.0 and the latency is pretty low, so maybe not the perfect gaming earbuds for your phone, but it will be more usable, being that it's, you know, that Bluetooth 5.0 is really going to help things. It's got 10mm drivers backed by Dolby Atmos, so the audio quality, it should be pretty decent. There's some tap gestures on the little circular pads on either side. They're touting some impressive bass response. It'll be interesting to see how a 10mm driver and a $45 set of earbuds, how much bass it can really deliver. But OnePlus is generally very good at delivering on these sorts of promises when it comes to their budget devices. It does support quick pair, so when you pop this thing open for the first time, your Android device will actually just have a pop-up asking if you want to pair to this thing, which I really love. I love simplifying that pairing mechanism. So all in all, for $45.99, it looks pretty good. I would love to know how it's going to work on a non-OnePlus branded phone, but I think it looks pretty solid nonetheless. And the last thing I want to talk about today is the fact that the October update for the Surface Duo has finally landed on AT&T. So if you were an AT&T user with your Surface Duo and you're, you know, just raring to go on this update, that I made a full video about talking about how it really improves stability and the touch response and so forth and so on. A lot of people have been really pleased with this update. Well, you should be getting that rolling out to you literally any moment now. If you don't remember what that update was purporting to cover, you're going to get an improved call stability experience, an improvement in touch stability. Facebook Messenger will actually work correctly when you're using the chat bubble feature, and just general device stability improvements as well. And I can attest that all those things are pretty much accurate. My Duo experience has been quite a bit better since getting that October update. So guys, that's my news radar for today. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next edition. This is where I break down any big gaming, tech, whatever news stories that I think are worth bringing to you for that particular day. So stay tuned for the next video, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends. If you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a Scary If Literal member. You'll get access to a whole bunch of emoticons to use with live streams and a shout out on an upcoming video. Thanks as always for your continued support.